Why did Coca-Cola start a SWAT team to ambush and destroy Richard Branson? In this video, you'll see why Mr. Beast and Logan Paul have to watch out for the same thing from happening to them so that they can become billionaires. If I told you that these two kids are on track to become the world's first YouTube billionaires, you'd probably call me crazy, right? Logan Paul's energy drink, which he promotes through his social media marketing, has generated over $250 million in revenue in its first year of release. And Mr. Beast's Beast Burger Ghost Kitchen restaurant chain has reported to generate over $100 million in revenue with restaurants across America. And his new chocolate bar product, Feastables, has reported to have generated over $10 million in revenue in the first few months.
Like by the end of next year, we could be in like 40, 50,000 locations. And the numbers just don't make sense.
There's just one big thing stopping them from achieving massive success and becoming billionaires, and they better watch out for it. And to explain what that is, we need to go back to the days of Richard Branson and Virgin Cola. If you ask anyone on the street to name a soda brand, they'll likely say
Coca-Cola
or Pepsi. These two giants have dominated the market for over a century. However, in the 90s, there was this one misstep that allowed for Richard Branson to step in and challenge these Goliaths. Coca-Cola launched a failed product called OK Soda for a younger demographic, which allowed Sir Richard Branson, the master serial entrepreneur, who was at the height of his game at the time. He had launched Virgin Airlines, Virgin Records, Virgin Games, Virgin, you name it, and now he had his sights set on soda. Richard didn't have to build his own soda factory or recipe because he just partnered with a Canadian company that already had that infrastructure. We're one of the leading providers of soda for grocery stores. They bottled soda for grocery stores like Publix, Walmart, and Kroger, you know, the typical grocery store sodas. With the infrastructure in place, that left Branson to do what he does best, which is marketing. Sound familiar? It should, because that's exactly how Mr. Beast does it with his ghost kitchens. He has an infrastructure for existing restaurants to make the burger recipes so that he can focus on what he does best, which is marketing those burgers off YouTube. Branson knew how to get attention. His marketing was edgy. It was different. He collaborated with model and actress Pamela Anderson to create a Pammy bottle shaped like her curves. The TV commercials were bold, provocative, and far from traditional. Virgin Cola was everywhere and becoming a significant contender in the EU. Coca-Cola initially underestimated Branson's passion project until Branson started to get a bigger head and enter the US market.
It looked like we were going to take Coke for everything they had. We were outselling them in Britain, in all the retailers that we were stocked, and we were outselling Pepsi. I then got a bit too big for my boots and I arrived in Times Square.
He came out with a bang and rolled out a tank in Times Square to announce his arrival.
With a Sherman tank from Britain, I crushed all these Coca-Cola and Pepsi cans. You know, cola was flying everywhere. And I then turned our Sherman tank's turret onto the Coca-Cola sign in the middle of Times Square. Anyway, Coke didn't take that too kindly.
Now, Virgin Cola was definitely on their radars. They quickly assembled a task force to tear down and cut off Virgin Cola at the knees. With bags of money and secret deals, Coke made Virgin Cola disappear from shelves almost overnight.
They got bagfuls of suitcases of money. They got a DC-10 on the runway at Atlanta. They filled it with SWAT teams. They arrived in England, and retailers suddenly became very wealthy, and all our Virgin Cola disappeared off the shelves. They kneecapped us, I mean, very, very systematically. And we did not know this was going on. I mean, I would ring up Tesco's and say, "What are you doing? You've taken Virgin Cola off all the shelves." And they would say, I don't know, they would come up with some excuse.
Virgin Cola production scaled back, eventually halting entirely by 2005. So, what can Mr. Beast and Logan Paul do to prevent a similar thing from happening? Let me coalesce it into 2 lessons. 1, stay under the radar. When you look at successful brands that are number 1 today, but at one point they were little flies buzzing around trying to dethrone an existing predecessor, they did that by staying under the radar until they were so successful that they could not be easily thrown around and cut off at the knees. Let me give you a couple examples. One would be Nike versus Converse. When Nike was starting out, it wasn't called Nike. It was this little company called Blue Ribbon, and they specialized in running shoes. And the big dominant player by far was the giant Converse. Now, what did they do? Well, they grew slowly and steadily under the radar of the big giant until they were so successful and they dominated this niche that Nike could not be easily cut off at the knees and killed. Similarly, in Sam Walton's book, Made in America, he documents his empire building of Walmart. And when Walmart was starting out, it was just this little fly, and Kmart and Target dominated the market. They were these giants, these Goliaths. What Walmart did was it stayed under the radar, growing strength, becoming higher quality as a business until it grew to a point that it was so big and successful that by the time Kmart and Target realized it was too late, they couldn't easily topple this guy, and Walmart just continued growing and growing. What Logan Paul has to look out for is the big giant Gatorade. And Mr. Beast, well, that's easy and obvious. It's Hershey's, and it's any other big burger chain. McDonald's, Five Guys, Burger King. The only issue is that these giants may already be starting to be aware of these new brands. For example, just a couple days ago, Mr. Beast tweeted out to his millions of followers that Hershey's was already doing blind taste tests to audiences on whether people like Feastables or Hershey's products. It doesn't seem like he's really trying to stay under the radar right now. Similarly, Logan Paul and his business partner KSI are doing a lot to generate social media exposure, even creating false controversy in order to get that reach. Plus, they've already signed a deal with sports teams and UFC brands. So they're already out there, right? So I guess only time will tell if they're already large enough and successful enough that they won't be topped over. Or maybe they can create this marketing just as long as the right people don't catch wind of it and take them seriously. And those people are really those Gatorade, Hershey's executives out there. Sure, Hershey's is doing taste tests already with Feastables, but maybe that's just one person in one department who wanted to add that to the list. It's really those executives who are able to form those task forces that can cut you off at the knees that you don't want to put your product on their radar too soon. But wait, there's more. I promised you one more lesson, right? This is the main lesson that Richard learned from his failed Virgin Cola venture. And probably best you hear it straight from the source.
What I learned from it was if you're going to take on the biggest company in the world, make sure that you take them on with a much better quality of product than theirs.
So now you're probably thinking, well, are those products actually better than what's already on the market? Well, I've had the fortune of trying Beast Burgers as well as many others, and the reviews aren't that great right now. There's a lack of consistency, and the taste and the price just doesn't compete with some names that we're all very much more familiar with. As far as the chocolate bars, they have very basic ingredients, and they're not that much different from the hundreds of chocolate bar brands out there.
I know those chocolate bars are not good. I mean, they're mid. And that's fine. They're like $2 chocolate bars.
No. You don't like Crunch Bars? I do like Crunch Bars, but again, it's too sweet. Which is better, my chocolate bar or the one that costs 100 times more?
definitely yours.
Oh, really?
Is second.
As far as Prime goes, I personally do find that the taste is a lot better than Gatorade, and you're not getting as much sugar. Other than that, I rarely hear Logan or KSI mention any real tangible benefits.
Water has 0 grams of sugar. Nothing.
Gatorade has 140 calories. Look at that. Prime only has 25.
Water has 0 calories.
Both electrolyte drinks. Gatorade has 350 milligrams of electrolytes and a bigger bottle, yet Prime doubles it with 825 milligrams of electrolytes.
And this water has over 3,000.
Plus, it's recently come under scrutiny by the FDA for having 6 times as much caffeine as a can of Coca-Cola. Now, don't come to the wrong conclusions here. I'm not saying that they will fail. In fact, I am rooting for them. These tips and this video is intended to potentially reach them, to help them out and help them succeed. And to do that, I think that they need to pivot. They need to update their products, work on the consistency and quality of their food so that they can learn from Richard's mistakes and have a product that is 10 times better than their competition, because currently it's very clear that they are severely relying on their marketing to sell generally fairly average quality products. But if you still want to try a virgin cola, you're in luck. There is one country where it's still sold because of a remaining licensing deal, and that is Afghanistan. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you are Logan or Mr. Beast or affiliated with his team. Reach out, let's talk.